You mentioned your uncles earlier. Your Uncle Jay said he realized you had talent because you could suck your thumb and dribble a basketball at the same time and it not get taken away. And the type of hunger from going from Mexico to KC, then now Nebraska, and then drafted by the Nuggets, traded to the Lakers. When you finally get to that point and you say, okay, the kid from the small town who had to make a tough decision in high school to go live with his uncle makes it to the NBA. What was that moment like for you? And you were stepping into a team with Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal.
So actually I was at my agent's house in New York, Andy Miller. I got drafted, said 23rd pick, Denver Nuggets select Tyronn Lue. And like, it just felt unreal. Like it was crazy. And I kind of was in shock because to see a name called by David Stern, like you never thought that day would come. And it was actually here. 10 minutes later, said I've been traded to the Lakers. I jumped up on the couch. I'm going crazy. I was jumping over, and my agent killed my high, right? Like, oh, now this changes everything. You go into a Class A organization. You could be out of the league in 3 years if you don't. I went from a high to scared to death. Like, man, like, damn, like you just took, I'm getting drafted tonight, and 10 minutes later, I'm scared to death, right. And so he kind of blew my high with that. But, for me, it was like a dream come true. I put the work in. I was dedicated to the game. Had a lot of help along the way. Like I said, family, friends, Mexico, who raised me. And I just wanted to get to the point where I can take care of my family, my mom, my grandmother, my sister, brothers, aunties, uncles. And when I got drafted, my mom and grandma, they ain't worked another day in their life. They've been getting a check for 25 years every month. Like,
That's a blessing.
Yeah, and so that was a blessing for me to be able to take care of them and to see where we come from and all the struggles we had, being poor and being raised and everything they had to do to try to get everything that we wanted. And so my grandma, my mom, man, they could have anything. And so I know coming to the league, my financial advisor like, man, you give a lot of money to your family. I said, man, I'd rather be broke. I don't want to be rich and my family be broke. Right. I'd rather be broke as long as they're successful, as long as they're happy, then I'm okay. And so that's kind of like how I live my life.
Not to this day now.
Yeah.
Still giving away money?
Yeah.
Why? They had to find something to do with the money you gave them.
They did a lot of raising.
Invest, do something and capitalize?
No, I'm just saying, if you just see all the things they did for me to get to this point, and I owe them everything. And so, I made a lot of money and I'm secure, with my money and everything. So, not having any kids or nothing like that. So it goes to my family.
I wanted to ask too, you talking about this, you getting to LA and that first class organization. A guy, you just were able to rent a car and now you're playing with Kobe Bryant and Shaq, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But how was that like for a young dude to walk in? You just back up and just be a fly on the wall, or do you have to purposely prove yourself to a guy like that?
I think the biggest thing that helped me was when I first got to LA, I had a chance to met Nick Van Exel, who I got traded for. I actually lived in his apartment when we got here, and it was right next door to Eddie Jones. And so Eddie Jones took me under his wing and kind of showed me the ropes and taught me everything. And so the first week I got in town, he took me to the Century Club. And I went to the Century Club and I met Shaq, the first night. And so Shaq was like, man, glad to have you. Come to the house tomorrow. I'm going to have a big, meal, whatever. And so we go over to Shaq's house the next day. He gives me, I think, $20,000 cash. I know you ain't got no money. I know it's a lockout. Take care of yourself. Fed us well. And then that kind of helped me out because I would have been in awe. I don't know what I would have expected if I just walked into practice and seen Shaq and Kobe, And so Shaq just made me feel welcome right away. The first time I met him, and then kind of, went on from there.
Did you pay him back?
No, he said he didn't want it back. It was a lockout. I got half my money. It was crazy. Yeah, it was a struggle that first year or two, but I finally got it together.
So as a player coming in to a prestigious organization like the Lakers, how do players defer to the superstar players on the team? I understand you have to find yourself a role. Is it challenging to fit into that spot?
Yeah, it is challenging. I think everyone that comes from college and goes to the NFL, goes to the NBA, you probably were the man on your team. Mm-hmm. So you used to, I averaged 23 points a game in college, and so you used to shooting the ball whenever you want to. But I would come into practice and play great, every day and not see the floor. I was in a suit the first 35 games of the season. And I'm not understanding, damn, I'm playing good, I'm balling, but now I got to find other ways to get on the floor. And so it ain't going to be my offense. We got Eddie Jones, we had Glenn Rice, we had Kobe, we had Shaq, Rick Fox. So what can I do different? What can I bring different to get on the floor? And that was, picking up full court, being a defensive player, and which I never did in college or high school, but I I got to get on the floor. So I started picking up full court, and I became like a defensive player, which I never was that throughout my career, like as far as high school and college. But it changed my career as far as, going against AI and everybody talking about the step over and all that stuff. But like he made my career. If it wasn't for AI, like I don't know where I would be, because that challenge like helped me get my next contract, and it allowed me to stay in the league for 11 years. So when I was playing and Phil Jackson was coaching with the Lakers, whatever, when I was with the Lakers, you got to be put on the playoff roster where you can't play the whole playoffs. And so like now you can rotate every game. But like back then, it's a playoff roster and it's set. So we go to the war room, and I have been going back and forth with Mike Penberthy. Like I wasn't sure if I was going to be on the playoff roster or J.R. Ryder was going to be on the playoff roster. And so it was crazy. So we sitting in the war room, and I'm like, man, I'm praying like, man, please let me be on this month. You know what I'm saying? And so we sitting there, Phil goes down the list, and he says my name. And I jump up and go crazy. Kobe goes crazy, Shaq, B. Shaw, like I go crazy, right? Everybody's happy for me. And so that was the first challenge, like getting on the playoff roster. Because if I'd have got left off, 6 people could have got hurt, and you still can't be on the playoff roster.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that was the first step. And then the second step for me was like, okay, the first round we played, I think San Antonio maybe, we played good. I played like 8 minutes a game or 10 minutes a game. When we got to the finals, I wasn't even playing. So the first half, I didn't play at all. And AI, I think, had like 36 points at halftime or something crazy. And then 6 minutes ago in the third quarter, Phil looked down, I was sitting on the floor, me and Devin George, he looked down and said, Luby, let's go. I was like, what? I jumped up, so I didn't even have time to really think about it. I didn't think I was going to play. So I jump up, and I'm just like, man, it's a guy I idolized, like, like some of the same upbringings, same heights, like everything, like, and he was somebody that I idolized, like growing, even though he's only 2 years older than me, like I looked up to him, the way he played, the style of play, and given my opportunity, and like I knew every move. Like I worked on that, everything he did, like I knew his counters, I knew what he was gonna do, if he's gonna snatch back, if he's gonna, spin, I knew everything. And so just study him every day for 2 weeks, and then finally get my chance to get out there and play against him, like it was like a dream come true. So I didn't have time to be scared or shook or none of that. I was just up for the challenge.
Well, I'm telling you what, the whole week I used to know Randy Moss was on the other side, and I was scared as hell. Right?
I try not to live with regrets. My contract was up, and so they offered me a 1-year deal to come back, and I had a better deal in Washington. And so I thought, like, okay, I won 2 championships. Now it's a chance for me to like get paid and get some money and have the opportunity to play with Michael Jordan. And so you get a chance to play with the GOAT. Like you gotta take that swing. And so for me, like I said, I won 2 championships. Now I can go to Washington, play with Michael Jordan, get paid, the biggest deal I've had since I've been in the league. I have to do it. And I had a lot of guys I talked to. Brian Shaw was a great mentor, Rick Fox, Robert Ory. And those guys like, listen, man, I know you want to be in LA, I know you love the team, but you got to take care of your family. If that's what you really want to do, like you got to take this next step. And so that's what I had to do. And like I said, I don't regret playing with Michael Jordan. I don't regret my 11-year NBA career. And so I really don't regret it, no.
What was that experience like? We hear other great players, the Larry Birds, say he's God in a uniform. AI saying he could see Mike's aura. As a guy who got an opportunity to see him every single day in practice, what was that experience?
It taught me that I was 22 years old, 23 years old, and I didn't work hard enough. And, when you're young, you think you're working hard, but until you see people that actually work hard, you don't really know what work is. And MJ being 40 years old, we call him Black Jesus, but, MJ being 40 years old, and he'd be the first guy in the gym. You walk in the gym at, practice at 11, you walk in the gym, you think you're early at 9 o'clock, he's already got a full lather, he's done lifted, court workout and everything. I'm like, damn, like what's... And then we come to practice, he's on one leg. Like he was hurt the second year, he was on one leg the whole year and played 82 games. Wow. And so he practiced every day and he played every game on one leg. And so he's like, man, MJ, why don't you just sit up? How can I be the leader of the team and sit out and y'all going through all the crap? I gotta be there. Or I lose my power as being a leader. Like I can't tell you what to do. I'm sitting on the sideline. Like, he was like, damn, like this, like he's 40 years old on one leg, the greatest of all time. Right. And you gonna practice every day on one leg at 40 years old? Like, so I'm not doing enough. And so then he started this thing called the Breakfast Club. And that's when I actually really started lifting weights. So every morning we would be on the road, we would get together, go lift weights, and then we'd come back, have breakfast, and then we'd go to shoot around. And that kind of taught me, like, got me into lifting weights and all that stuff. But to see a guy at 40 years old, and he was, known as the best player ever, and to still practice every day, be the first guy at the gym and the last guy to leave, like that just shows you at 23, 24 years old, I wasn't working hard enough.
on the other side of that, the guy who gets some of the most comparisons outside of LeBron is Kobe.
Yeah.
You know, what's the difference in Mike and Kobe?
No difference. Their will to win, their will to want to kill you every single night and take your heart, their will to miss 9, 10 shots in a row and think the next 10 are going in. Like, just that killer instinct, like, it just, those two, I've never seen nothing like it. And, you know, like, Bron is, like I said, he's great. And they all, to me, are great players. It's not like, you know, whatever. I don't never do the comparison. Mm-hmm. But those two were spitting images. Like, you know, both 6'6", both, you know, with the frame they got, you know, the athletic ability, the mid-post game, the passing ability, which they didn't want to pass as much, you know, because they want to kill you. Like, they want to come in the game, I want to get 50 every night. Yeah. That's their mentality. You know, where Bron is, I want to come in and get 30, 10, and 10, you know, whatever, and make, you know, the guys around me better, where Kobe and Jordan were like, listen, I want to win, but I want to also kill you and take your heart every single night. Mm. And so the comparison of those two, just seeing those two, spitting images of each other.
January 22nd, 2016, Coach Blatt is fired. You become the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, and you lead that team to what many believe is the most improbable 3-1 comeback in the finals. Everybody talks about the LeBron block. Obviously, Kyrie comes down, hits the three-pointer. That experience for you as a coach, as opposed to a player, how much different was that, and what did it mean to you to lead that team there?
It was tough. You know, I think when you take over midway through the season, you know, we've already played 41 games, and you take over, and you've never done it before. So you always think, you know, mentally, like, oh, I can be a head coach, but till you actually slide over one seat, you really don't know. And then come in with no training camp, you know, nothing, and you just take over midway through a season for a team that has expectations of winning a championship. I thought it was tough, you know, and it was hard. But when I first walked in that room, I grabbed Kyrie, Caleb, and Bron, and I said, listen, this is new for me. I'm gonna need you guys' help, but this is what I see. And it's what I need you guys to do for me. And they had my back 100%. And like I said, they made me better, because a lot of things I really didn't know until you actually do it. And I'm learning on the fly. Like, get hired, next day we got a game. Like, it's like no practice, no, like, and it's so like, damn, like, can I really do this? You start questioning yourself, can I really do this? And I'll tell you, like, Bron, Kyrie, Caleb, they really kept me on my toes. They really made me a better coach. Like I said, everybody, like, you know, I had some success because in Cleveland, winning a championship, going to 4 finals or whatever, but I've only been coaching for 6 years. Yeah. Like, you know, but I've had success early, so people think I've been doing it for a long time, but I really got a lot to learn. Like, I still got a lot to grow, and I understand that, and I'm always willing to learn and work towards that. But that was a crazy year. And to win a championship, like I said, being down 3-1, and I know you talked about my mom and my grandmother having, you know, cancer, so they couldn't make it to the games. And so when we won, everybody, you know, saw the picture on TV. I'm crying. I'm like, it was just like a chance to like exhale. Like, it was just so much going on with my family, my mom and grandma. They couldn't be there. Winning, you know, all the critics saying that we were dead, we couldn't come, like it was over. And so it was just a lot. And so when you finally win and able to exhale, it was like a sigh of relief. You know what I mean?
Playing with those stars we're talking about already. And now you said it when you got to Cleveland, you brought up your stars. Yeah. Caleb, Kyrie, LeBron, that was your big three when you got there. Being a player, and people always want to say, well, people say, you haven't put the cleats on, I don't want to hear your opinion. Right. When they criticize coaches that haven't played. But I do think playing helps you as a coach. Like, to argue that other side, what does your playing help in the coaching department and dealing with Hall of Famers? Like, that whole dynamic, what's the difference between you and Tibbs, who didn't play in the league?
For me, it's just like having that feel. Like, you've been in a locker room and you know when guys are tired. You know, so like, you know what, we're going to give them a day off or 2 days off. Or, you know, when you're going through 2-a-days and guys like, man, no, I've done it. Like, you can't tell, like, don't try to, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I've done it. I've been in 2-a-days for 30 days. Yeah, not for 4 days. Like,
you sound like us.
Yeah,
we talking about we played.
Y'all
boys ain't never been in 2-a-days.
Y'all did a collective bargaining agreement. Y'all can only have 4 2-a-days. I did 30 days. Damn. So I'm with, you know, Jeff Van Gundy, where, you know, we got 30 days of practice, 32 a-days. But also, on top of that, on days we had, like, preseason games, we practice in the morning. Like he said, I don't care about the preseason game. Like, we practice and then play the game at night. So, like, when they see that they know you've been through it, they can respect it more. You know, I don't know if that's right or wrong, but they know, like, you know what you're talking about. And you can also relate to the players more, you know, because, like, a guy like Bones Highland, you know, on our team, a really great player. Like, we got a lot of guys that, we're playing. I got to talk to them. They're like, man, I've been in your position. Like I know what it's about. Like, you ball and you playing good, but sometimes you might be able to get on the floor. And so I've been off the bench. I've been a starter. I've been not played. I've been cut. Not cut, but I've been traded.
Yeah.
So I've been in every role you can possibly be in. So when I want to talk to the younger players, like, I've been there and I've seen it and I've been a part of it, so they can kind of understand it more and they listen to you more because you've been through it.
How do you manage the personalities of your superstars? You got Russ now, you got PG, and then you also have Kawhi. Like, these are superstars. It's not a whole lot of ball to go around. How do you manage those personalities?
Brian Shaw taught me a long time ago, when I was with the Lakers, like with Kobe and Shaq, like just tell your stars the truth. They might say F you or whatever, but they're gonna respect you at the end of the day. And so I got the relationship where we communicate every day. I'm talking with those guys every day, picking their brains, what they like, what they don't like. And my coaching style is like, I want to do what's best for the player that's gonna help the team win. And so, what's your best spot on the floor? What you like running in the game? Like, I'm gonna ask you these questions so we can kind of incorporate that into the game. So you're comfortable when you get the ball in those moments. Like, you're comfortable on the floor. And so it's not like one of those things, you do it my way or you don't. Like, no, I don't coach like that. And so I want to make sure everybody's comfortable. And then also, if you're comfortable, but make sure we do it in the confines of the team, and then kind of go from there. Just talking to Phil Jackson, he said every 3-4 years you should take a break. If you're good enough to take a break and come back, you should do that. Because people understand how much goes into coaching. Like, every time you lose a game, you going home, you can't sleep. You think about what could I have done different? Who could I have played? Bad ATO. Like, it's just a lot of stuff that goes into it. And so it's a lot, dealing with all the different egos and trying to manage 15 grown men who are rich. And like, it's a lot, And so people don't understand like how much goes into coaching. And just from a standpoint, you're not sleeping at night. You try and prepare for the next day.
Coach, y'all wear those games like it's so different in football. We work all week for 3 hours.
Right.
And so we normally wear the losses and you're high about the wins because you're not playing until the next week. Right. If you go on a 5-game win streak or losing streak in football, it's actually a month and a half of you doing that. Right. With you guys, you could have a back-to-back or it could be a long road stretch. You actually wear those losses that way as a coach?
Every game. And it never stops. And it's easy. Like, our coaches are older, Brian Shaw and Larry Drew, like, man, you can't take it home. Like, man, what are you talking? Like, we lose a game, I'm taking it home and I'm not sleeping. And so if we don't get that next win, I might not sleep again, And so it's a lot. And so, like, you give so much to the game and you love the game and you respect the game and the game that's giving you everything. Like, I'm not going to shortcut it. Like, yeah, losses hurt every night. Losses hurt. And sometimes even when you win, like last night we won, and I didn't think we closed the game right. So I can't sleep because I'm thinking about how different ways we can close games. And so you hear all the people talking and all that, they don't understand. Like, they can say what they want to say and speak on how they want to speak about any coach or whatever they want to say on Twitters. And I don't have social media, but like, not about me, just other coaches. But you don't understand what we got to actually go through every single day, to try to put your team in position to win. For one night, it's hard. Like, it's tough. And so that's why I feel sad. When you get a chance to take some time off, off and kind of rejuvenate yourself and try to come back. But it's a lot of sleepless nights.
Coach, you will take a game on a Tuesday night and miss sleep. So from a head coaching perspective, Ryan brought it up. What happens when a LeBron leaves your team or a Kyrie? Like, we don't hear from a head coach perspective. We hear from the players. Right. We hear from the organization. But you the dude that has to make this team good. And now LeBron, I'd put him number 2. Jordan's going to be number 1 in my mind forever. The second best player ever to touch the court, in my opinion, leaves your team after a championship. Like, how does your process go when your team changes that drastically?
Well, I know it's a business and you got to do what's best for you and your family. So I understand that, 100%, but things do change, overnight, when you have LeBron James leave your team, Kyrie Irving, especially when the team was built around y'all. And now when you leave, like, we had a team full of shooters that couldn't dribble. like Kyrie, and Bron, they setting, Kyle Korver, Channing Frye, Richard Jefferson. Right. Like, we had a lot of guys that eat, but they couldn't cook. You know what I'm saying? So it got tough. So you try to figure out different ways to, manufacture wins, different styles of how to play. And, it was tough. It was tough. But I thought we did some good things in those 6 games. I thought we, in all 6 of those teams, I think made the playoffs that year. So it was tough, but I thought we enjoyed it. It challenged me in different ways as a coach. 100%. just look at the people from Mexico, how I grew up, and we call it one way in, no way out. If it wasn't basketball, I know what I would be doing, or I know where I'd be at. You know what I mean? Yeah. And so, man, if it wasn't for this game, I definitely wouldn't be successful in the right, light. Really? No, hell no. Like you don't see success every day in Mexico. How do you measure success when you've never seen it? So I'm in Mexico, 11,000 people, 1,100 black people. And I see the drugs, and I see what am I seeing that's positive every day? You don't see positivity until you see people around you that are positive. Like, I don't want to be no school teacher. Like, you know what I'm saying? And nothing wrong with that. Like, but growing up as a young black kid, like, I don't want to be a school teacher and deal with guys like me every day. Right. It's like, I don't want that, And so you don't see that, in Mexico. And so, man, the game's giving me everything. And so, like I told him every day, if God's saying, listen, I'm coming down in 5 seconds, you're done, I'm going to get on my knees and say, thank you for everything. Like, I can't be mad. You know what I mean? And so I die out there on the court. That's what I love, and that's the game.